Welcome back, Undertakers. Thanks for joining me. Now today I'm going to show you guys how to make some walnut pie. Now throughout this video I may slip and I may refer and call it pecan pie or pecan pie. It's walnut pie. We're using walnuts. Essentially it's the same thing. We're just going to make a pecan pie, but instead of pecans we're going to use walnuts. I started doing this, I don't know, a number of years ago. Basically because walnuts cost about half as much as the pecans did, so I started using the walnuts. If you don't tell anybody, most people don't know the difference. They just eat it and they don't know. But it comes out just as well, and it saves you a little bit of money. So that's why I do it. Now to make this pie, it's pretty simple. It doesn't take that many ingredients. We're only going to dirty one pot, and we'll need a pie shell, pie crust. That's it. And I've seen variations on pecan pie or walnut pie before. They don't change a lot. They're basically the same. You'll see some tweaks here and there. No different from this one. So this is, I've added a couple of things that your basic pecan pie recipe doesn't have in it. So you can adjust this however you want, as long as you follow some of the basic ones. And to get started, we're going to need a half a cup of corn syrup. We're going to need a cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of white sugar, 2 tablespoons of milk, 3 tablespoons of flour. I like to add a little bit of nutmeg in mine. Obviously we're going to need some walnuts. If you want to use pecans in this and make pecan pie, go ahead. We've got 3 eggs, a stick of butter, and it doesn't even have to be warm. So this, I just took this out of the refrigerator a minute ago. Doesn't matter. I've got 1 shot of rum here. You could use bourbon if you wanted to, or some sort of whiskey, whatever. Leave it out. I like it in there. I've got a teaspoon of vanilla, half a teaspoon of salt. And that's regular table salt, not the kosher salt. You want to just regular table salt for this. And it's pretty simple. So there's only a couple steps to it. So pay close attention. I'll show you step number 1. Okay, so I suppose technically step number 1 is preheat your oven to 350. Don't forget that part. Step 2, combine everything except the eggs and the walnuts together into your pot. There's our milk and our light corn syrup, our white sugar, here's our flour, brown sugar, a little shot of rum, shh, don't tell anybody, a half teaspoon of salt, our teaspoon of vanilla, our stick of butter, and finally our little bit of nutmeg I'm going to put in here. And I'm just shooting for maybe half a teaspoon or so. It's not, I don't need a whole lot of it in here. About like that. Now we put it on the stove. Alright, so I've got it on medium heat. It'll take just a couple of minutes here. The butter will melt and everything will kind of come together. Just kind of keep stirring it so it doesn't burn. And eventually we're going to bring it up to a boil, and it shouldn't take long. Alright, we're about 4 minutes in. You can see everything's all melted together here, and we're just starting to get a boil here. So you want to keep it moving. The last thing you want to do is burn all the sugar in here and ruin it. And that's just about what we're looking for. When it comes to a boil, you want to see it kind of rise up out of the pot a little bit like that. So that's what we're looking for. So as soon as you see that, turn the heat off and get this off the burner. Okay, so once we take our pie filling mixture off the stove, you want to leave it sitting cool for about 10 minutes or so. Don't let it cool down all the way because it'll kind of thicken up and whatever. So you still want it to be warm, but you want it to cool down some. So in the meantime, we're going to take our 3 eggs and we're just going to kind of give those a quick little whisk and mix those together. Alright, our mixture's cooled down for about 12 minutes or so. So now we have to get our filling in with our eggs. And to temper that, if you've never done that, that just means we're going to slowly introduce the hot into the eggs so that they don't get all scrambled and messed up. So we're just going to, with the eggs moving, we're just going to drizzle a little bit in there and stop. A little more. So this way we're just slowly raising the temperature of the eggs. Alright, so far so good. Now as you go, you can add a little bit more in there. And once you get about halfway or so, you can kind of just mix the rest of it in. So you're just watching to make sure you don't see any like egg lumps, the eggs aren't coming together or anything like that, so that's good. So we're just going to keep drizzling it in there. Okay, so now our filling is all ready to go. Everything's all combined nicely. Our eggs didn't scramble, so that's good. Now we need our 2 cups of walnuts. Now this time for my pie, I'm using a store-bought frozen pie crust. And you know, it's no big deal. Sometimes I make my pie crust, sometimes I buy the frozen store-bought, sometimes I buy the refrigerated kind that it comes in a tube and you just unroll it and use your own pie pan. Any of those are fine. And the reason I'm using this one is I'm going to end up giving this one away to somebody, and I don't want to give my pie plate away. So I like these frozen ones because they come in a little metal pie plate already. So when you give these away, you don't have to worry about getting anything back. And now, we're just going to pour our mixture in here. You just want to fill this up to where it's going to be full. Sometimes, like this time probably, I've got a little bit of this filling left over, and that's alright. You know, you don't want to overflow this thing just to say, hey, I had that much filling, so I just kept on pouring. So I've got, you know, maybe half a cup of the filling left or something like that. So that's fine. I'm just going to put that off to the side. Now the pie, it goes into the oven. It's 350. And we're going to cook it for about 40 to 45 minutes. Now I know in my stove it's going to be pretty much the 45. And you'll know when it's done when you take it out and wiggle it. If it doesn't have any movement to it, you'll know it's done. But in 45 minutes, we'll check it and see where we're at. Alright, 45 minutes later, I just pulled this out. And as you can see, when you wiggle it, it's not jiggly or anything like that. It's nice and, it's not firm. You could move it, but it doesn't jiggle when you wiggle it. That's what you're looking for. So, now the hardest part of this whole thing. Let it cool down before you eat it. So I'm going to leave it sit here probably for a couple of hours, let it cool down, then we'll cut into it and see how we did. Alright, it's finally pie time. So after a couple hours of cooling down, there's the pie. You can see a nice clean slice come out of there. There it is. Whoa. Man, that is good. Now, most of the time when I make these, I cook them on my smoker. But today it was raining and I didn't want to have to mess with that, so I just made it inside. But it comes out great every time. They make great gifts. I make usually 2 or 3 at Thanksgiving. I'll make some at Christmas. I'll keep 1 or 2, give 1 or 2 away, which was the plan for this one, but since I cut into it for you guys, I'll have to keep this one and eat it myself and make another one. But whichever way you go, whether you want to go with walnuts or whether you go with pecans, either way you're going to have a great pie. So give this a try. It's really great. If you make it, let me know what you think. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.